everybody, Photogirl here. Today I'm going to review the Captain Marvel Volume 1, which is Captain Marvel 1 through 6. First off, I'm actually more of a DC fan than Marvel, so I know very little about Captain Marvel. But this one is a really interesting new origin for her. She started out as Miss Marvel, and if some of you will probably know this, but she got her powers from a Captain Marvel, or Marvel the alien, from DNA transfer of the explosion. That's how she got her powers, but in the beginning of this volume, Captain Marvel dies. They don't show his death necessarily, but she talks about his death, and she's very, sad about it because he was like one of her idols, the person that she followed, and I assume he taught her everything that she knew, how to control her powers, how to be a good person and all that. So she just talks about that, and right away she's actually fighting a villain with Captain America. And this threw me for a loop because, of course, I know very little. I know who Captain America is. It's Steve Rogers, but in this one, it kind of threw me for a loop because I thought her and Captain America were married, but no. She is either his sister or his adopted sister or something like that, because there's a flashback in here of her meeting her real idol, which is a pilot, Helen Cobb, and he is Stevie Danvers in this flashback, and then her name is Carol Danvers, so I don't know, it's confusing for me. I guess I should probably look that up more, but maybe you guys could leave in the comments on how they're related, or what the backstory is in that. But I really enjoyed this. The artwork right away with the villain is very, very cool, very, very new, I'd have to say, because I haven't seen this type of work before at all, really. These hard lines and the harsh colors. So cool. They changed the artwork in this so much. It's amazing. But, they fight the villain, and then they go back to the Avengers headquarters and whatnot, and they talk. And Spider-Man's there. He only has a short bit in it, because Miss Marvel, or Carol Danvers, she doesn't like the name Miss Marvel anymore. She wants to change it to Captain Marvel, which is what this whole thing's about, mostly. She also has her little space adventures where she would actually go into space. Part of her backstory is she's also a pilot, too, so she flies planes. And she has a very random subplot of this lady named Tracy. She's older and she has cancer, and she's just taking care of her. She's just a random side story. Let's see. She meets Helen Cobb back in the day, years ago, which is her pilot idol, and they show plenty of backstory on Helen Cobb. And one of my favorite parts of this was the funeral scene, and how Carol Danvers takes care of Helen Cobb's ashes, because Helen Cobb dies. She actually goes into space and releases the ashes into space. That is such a neat idea. Really cool. She is also gifted Helen Cobb's plane as well. As in Helen Cobb's will, she gives Carol Danvers her plane. And when Carol Danvers flies it, she actually ends up back in the World War II time. I can't say that word. I don't know why, but back in the 1950s or so, whenever that war is around. But she goes back in time. She loses her plane, first of all, and she meets this group of women called Sorry, I'm looking because this is such a broad volume. It's so amazing. But she meets this group of women called the Banshee, I do believe. Let me see if that's correct. Yeah, the Banshee Squad of 1943, actually. So they're actually women pilots back in 1943, and that's really weird. They end up in Japan, and there's this alien craft that the Japanese got a hold of, which you can see right there. And they just fight off these alien craft, and they're trying to figure out where this alien craft came from. And I do believe they're a Kree craft from the Kree alien species. Yep, it's a Kree craft, and she figures out later on that she actually got sent back in time through the plane. But before that happened, she actually meets Helen Cobb in person again, only back in time. So she's wearing her, Captain Marvel suit, and she actually meets Helen Cobb. Also, when she actually meets Helen Cobb again, there's also a different artwork as well, a very different pinwork. It's really neat. It's very vintage looking, I have to say, which I thought was cool. Although I don't really care how their faces are drawn that much in this one. It's a little weird. It's almost alien looking. Like their foreheads are huge. Especially, let's see, what's a good example? Like right here, there's like barely no hairline. Oh, the hairline's up higher, but it's just weird to me. But, each to their own. But here's a scene where she actually ends up being with Helen Cobb at the scene of the blast, where she becomes Miss Marvel with Captain Marvel. And they're villain aliens called, his name is Yon-Rogg. He's an alien, so he's a villain alien. He's trying to get this, I think it's a wishing machine, they do say. And I do believe this is when Captain Marvel dies as well. That's what I take from it, which is kind of sad, but apparently he wasn't that much of an idol to her. Like, he probably didn't teach her a whole lot, but I'm kind of hoping he did. I should probably try and find the older Miss Marvels with actual Captain Marvel in it. And at the ending, Helen Cobb gets a little greedy, and she actually gets Miss Marvel like powers, and she's trying to take away, not Helen Cobb's, but Carol Danvers' powers away, because she thinks that Carol doesn't want them, or she doesn't want to be a superhero anymore. So they fight for a bit, and this is actually when she actually finds out more that the plane is actually the time machine, and she just needs to get to the plane to get back in her time zone. And they actually, fight their way to the plane because Helen Cobb wants to be the new Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, so to speak. But luckily, Helen Cobb makes it back in time. It's kind of sad that her idol kind of turns into a villain-like person. At the end, she meets up with her friend Tracy, who's actually going into surgery for her cancer or something like that. So I really enjoyed this one. It's a very different female superhero to look into for me than just Wonder Woman. More so, I'm a big Rogue fan too. So that's all I gotta talk about in this review. Please leave in the comments on what you thought about this volume, or the new Captain Marvel origin. So, yep, that's all I gotta say. Everybody have a great day.